Section 2, the fight against slavery. Background knowledge. As early as colonial times, some Americans had opposed slavery. Most Quakers, in particular, condemned slavery on religious and moral grounds. In this section, we will see how the reforming impulse of the 1800s spurred a vigorous new effort to end slavery. Roots of the anti-slavery movement. A number of prominent leaders of the early republic, such as Alexander Hamilton and Benjamin Franklin, opposed slavery. They believed that slavery violated the most basic principle of the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal. Slavery ends in the North. In 1780, Pennsylvania became the first state to pass the law that gradually eliminated slavery. By 1804, every northern state had ended or pledged to end slavery. Congress also outlawed slavery in the Northwest Territory. As a result, when Ohio entered the Union in 1803, it became the first state to ban slavery in its constitution. Colonization movement, sorry. The American Colonization Society, established in 1817, was an early anti-slavery organization. This society proposed that slaves be freed gradually and transported to Liberia, a colony founded in 1822 on the west coast of Africa. The colonization movement did not work. Most enslaved people had grown up in the United States and did not desire to leave. By 1830, only about 1,400 African Americans had migrated to Liberia. Growing opposition to slavery. The Second Great Awakening inspired further opposition to slavery. Many people were influenced by the preaching of Charles Finney, who condemned slavery. By the mid 1800s, a small but growing number of people were abolitionists, reformers who wanted to abolish or end slavery. Some abolitionists went further, rejecting gradual emancipation and called for a complete and immediate end to slavery. Garrison, one of the most forceful voices for abolition, was William Lloyd Garrison. A Quaker, he strongly opposed the use of violence to end slavery. Still, Garrison was more radical than others because he favored full political rights for African Americans. In 1831, Garrison launched an abolitionist newspaper, The Liberator. It became the nation's leading anti-slavery publication for 34 years, ending only when slavery itself ended. Garrison co-founded the New England Anti-Slavery Society, which later became the American Anti-Slavery Society. Leaders of this group included Theodore Weld, a minister who had a pupil of Charles Finney. Weld brought a zeal of religious revival to anti-slavery rallies. Other members included Sarah and Angelina Grimke, daughters of a South Carolina slaveholder. African American abolitionists. Prominent African Americans in the North took the leading role in the abolitionist movement. In 1829, David Walker published his Appeal to the Colored Citizens of the World. The strongly worded pamphlet urged enslaved people to rebel, if necessary, to gain their freedom. Perhaps the most powerful speaker for the abolitionism was Frederick Douglass. Born into slavery, Douglass had broken the law by learning to read. He later escaped to freedom in the North. Garrison and other abolitionists encouraged Douglass to describe his experiences at anti slavery rallies. Douglass told one crowd, "I appear this evening as a thief and a robber. I stole this head, these limbs, this body from my master and ran off with them." By appearing in public, Douglass risked being sent back into slavery, yet he continued to speak before larger and larger audiences. He also published his own anti slavery newspaper, the North Star. A former president takes a stand. Abolitionists won the support of a few powerful people. Former President John Quincy Adams, now a member of Congress, read anti slavery petitions from the floor of the House of Representatives. In 1839, Adams proposed a constitutional amendment that would ban slavery in any new state joining the Union. However, the amendment was not passed. 2 years later, Adams made a dramatic stand against slavery. Captive Africans aboard the slave ship Amistad had rebelled, killing the captain and ordering the crew to sail back to Africa. Instead, the crew sailed the ship to America. The 73-year-old Adams spoke to the Supreme Court for 9 hours and helped the captives regain their freedom. The Underground Railroad. Some courageous abolitionists dedicated themselves to helping people escape from slavery. They established a system known as the Underground Railroad. Despite its name, it was neither underground nor a railroad. It was a network of people, black and white, Northerners and Southerners, who secretly helped slaves reach freedom. Working for the Underground Railroad was illegal and dangerous. Conductors led fugitive slaves from one station to the next. Stations were usually the homes of abolitionists, but might be churches or even caves. Supporters helped by donating clothing, food, and money to pay for passage on trains and boats. Many people risked their lives to help runaway slaves. Levi Coffin, an Indiana Quaker, assisted more than 3,000 fugitives. Harriet Tubman, who had herself escaped from slavery, escorted more than 300 people to freedom via the Underground Railroad. Tubman, nicknamed the Black Moses, proudly told Frederick Douglass that in 19 trips to the South, she never lost a single passenger. Slave owners promised a $40,000 reward for her capture. This map shows all the different directions that they would go to get the slaves out of the South and into the North. Each year, hundreds of slaves moved along the Underground Railroad to freedom in the North or in Canada. In total, perhaps as many as 50,000 gained their freedom in that way. Opposing of abolition. Abolitionists faced powerful obstacles in the North as well as in the South. Many Northerners profited from the existence of slavery. Northern textile mill owners and merchants relied on the cotton produced by Southern slave labor. Northern workers feared that freed slaves might come north and take their jobs. Such fears sometimes prompted violence against abolitionists. Mobs attacked anti slavery meetings In 1835, William Lloyd Garrison was dragged through the streets of Boston's with a rope around his neck. As we have read in chapter 7, Southerners had long defended slavery as a positive force. Now, as support for abolition grew louder, they went on the offense. The state of Georgia offered a $5,000 reward for the arrest and the conviction of libel for William Lloyd Garrison. Southerners in Congress won passage of a gag rule that blocked discussion of anti-slavery petitions. John Quincy Adams unsuccessfully fought for repeal of the gag rule. Looking back and ahead, by the 1840s, the North and the South were increasingly divided by the issue of slavery. Abolitionists succeeded in making converts in the North. Slavery was spreading along with the cotton boom in the South.